Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It is that special time of year again when every time I open my Instagram or my TikTok or even my YouTube subscription box, everyone is posting their content about the Sephora sale. I'm seeing lots of Sephora sale recommendations and hauls, and it can be tough this time of year to kind of resist the urge to buy. What I wanted to do in this video is really spend time highlighting products that I've purchased from Sephora before, but that are tried and true products that have stood the test of time. Truth is that Sephora is very trendy, and because of that, there's a lot of trendy releases. There's always new products that are going viral that people are really hyping. But for the average consumer who isn't making beauty content, doesn't feel like they need to keep up with the trends. I feel like for me, if I was an average consumer who wanted to make the most of the Sephora sale, I would want to hear product recommendations that I know the person has been using for years and that have always worked for them and never let them down. So in this video, I'm going to be talking you through the products that I think are so special or innovative, whether in their formulas or in their specific shade offerings. And these are the products that I have used and loved for years, that I have gone back to time and time again because I can depend on them, and that I haven't been able to find dupes for at more affordable prices, and therefore I do think would be worth the money if you are shopping the Sephora sale. On this channel, we do a lot of content around project panning and using the makeup we already have, and included within that is a mindful approach to consumerism, which means really being thoughtful about the products that we buy and bring into our collections. Of course, once in a while, it's fun to just treat ourselves, but if you do want to take a more mindful approach to the Sephora sale, I hope that these picks and my thoughts about them will be helpful to you. If you do decide to shop the Sephora sale and any of the products that I've mentioned here, I'm going to leave a link down below where I have created a shop my shelf with all of these products listed out, as well as some extras. So extra skincare products that I'm not going to talk about today, and hair care products and fragrance as well. If you shop through my links, I do get a small kickback, which I am so grateful for. If you decide to do that, it's no extra cost to you. But of course, no pressure. The links are just there if you want them. And I am going to be showing you all of these products in action and putting them on my face. So I hope that sounds good to you. Let's get into the video. Okay, I'm gonna start with some skincare, which, to be honest, I hesitated to even include because I don't think that you absolutely need to buy your skincare from Sephora. However, there are a few products from Sephora that I do think are unique in that I have never been able to find more affordable options for them. So we're going to start with the facial radiance pads from First Aid Beauty. They're just these little pads like this. They remind me of Stridex if you also grew up in the early 2000s. But I absolutely love using these before makeup as my skin prep because they do such an effective job of removing dead skin, any buildup that causes texture on your skin, but it's also very gentle. These don't leave my skin feeling completely stripped like a Stridex used to. Then another one for the girlies who lean a little bit dry or maybe just have normal skin that feels a bit more dehydrated in the winter. This is the Merit Great Skin Instant Glow Serum. It's like a bi-phase product, so you have to shake it up because it does have an oil in there. Now, I'm going to use this as a serum today to add some hydration back into my skin, but you can use this over top of your moisturizer and your SPF as a primer for foundation, which I do all the time, especially in the winter when I just know that my skin is not going to look hydrated under my foundations. It does such a great job of hydrating the skin without being so oily that it's going to break up your foundation. The only thing I don't like about it is the pump, because whenever I pump it out, it kind of, I don't know, sprays, and it can be a little bit messy, but I just rub it between my hands, put it on like a serum, and if I'm using it as a primer, I would just apply the same way. I even go up underneath my eyes a little bit because I tend to get dry there, and then I go down my neck with whatever's left. And again, it's super lightweight. It doesn't feel like I have an oil on my skin. It feels like kind of just like an essence, but very hydrating. This next one, I'm really not excited about recommending to you because it's so expensive and I don't understand why. But unfortunately, I have to be the bearer of bad news and break it to you that this is actually a fabulous product. This is the Magic Cream from Charlotte Tilbury. This is definitely going to be one for those of you who are not averse to spending quite a bit of money, but I have to say it makes a huge difference in the way that my makeup wears. You look at this and you think it's just a really thick moisturizer. It does have kind of a perfume in it, which I don't love, but the way that my foundation lasts, I swear my foundation lasts so much better when I use this. It doesn't dry out on my face. I don't end up with the foundation breaking up and clinging to dry patches at the end of the day. And I think it makes a really big difference in the longevity of my makeup. So for what it's worth, if you were curious, if you are wanting to treat yourself to kind of a luxury skincare product, I do recommend this. I don't think it's an absolute necessity. It is way too expensive for what it is. And when I run out of this, I will be back to using my CeraVe from the drugstore. So my kind of #1 recommendation for a product that I think is actually worth it for the eyes at Sephora is the Bobbi Brown Long Wear Cream Shadow Sticks, with the caveat that you can sometimes find these on sale other places, including the cosmetics company outlet. So just be aware of that. There are places to get these on a discount, which is usually what I do. But if you just want something from Sephora, maybe you get the 20% off discount or whatever. I think these are really good. I've tried so many eyeshadow sticks and they all pretty much crease on me and don't last and disappear like halfway through the day. This is the one formula that I think is actually long wearing. It's a little bit drier. Because of that, it does last, it doesn't break up, and I just feel like the majority of shadow sticks, even like the Laura Mercier ones, I'm just not that big of a fan of. I hate to think that I'm spending so much money on a shadow stick for it to disappear mere hours after applying it. This is the shade Cashew. It's the only one I have right now, and this is kind of like a base shade for me, so I'm just gonna put that all over the lid. But the other way that I really like to use these is as a liner. So if you get like a deep brown, they have a plummy shade, or even like a gray or a charcoal or a black. I really like using these as like a softer alternative to a winged liner, but because they are long wearing, it lasts really well. Because of the shade I have, it's not like the most impactful shade ever, but hopefully you can see it's just a nice matte base on my eyes. My favorite shade in this line is Taupe, which is similar to the shade Cashew, but it's a little bit deeper and a little bit warmer. And it just makes for the most beautiful, like one-step, super easy bit of something on your eyes if you don't want to put a ton of effort in or you want to save some time. They do also have some metallic shades and some shimmer shades. I'm partial to the matte ones just because I like to add my shimmer with a powder shadow, but I do think that these are really good if you're looking for a long wearing cream shadow stick and maybe you have oilier lids or you just find that most cream shadow sticks wear off on you. If you want my honest opinion, I don't really think that there is any eyeshadow palette that is truly special enough to purchase it at Sephora. Even if you are looking at some of the more luxury brands like Pat McGrath and Natasha Denona. First of all, Pat McGrath is constantly running sales on her website, so make sure you're checking that, especially around like Black Friday and after Christmas. There's typically like a 30 and sometimes even a 40% off sale on the Pat McGrath website. It used to be the case that Natasha Denona was never on sale, and so the Sephora sale would be a great time to purchase a Natasha Denona palette. But even Natasha Denona is now running sales all the time on their website. So I think a lot of these brands are running better sales on their own websites than the 10, 15, or 20% off you're going to get at Sephora, with the exception of maybe like YSL and Dior, maybe like a Tom Ford palette. I haven't tried any palettes from Dior or YSL. I've tried Tom Ford palettes. I think they're fine, but it's not really my jam when it comes to eyeshadow. So for me, I don't really have an eyeshadow palette pick. If you really, really wanted an eyeshadow palette to pick up during the Sephora sale and you forced me to give you one, this is the one I would recommend, and it's the Natasha Denona Mini Nude. Again, Natasha Denona runs sales on her website all the time, so make sure you check that first. But I think if you, especially if you get the 20%, this would be a really good deal on this palette, which is already more affordable than some of the other Natasha Denona palettes. And it's a nice neutral color story that I think a lot of people could get a lot of use out of. It's really tiny and compact, so it's perfect for travel or just putting in like your work makeup bag or your gym makeup bag. And I know for me, this is the Natasha Denona Mini that I've gotten the most use out of. So if you forced me to pick an eyeshadow palette, this would be the one that I would recommend. I'm just gonna do a quick eyeshadow look with this palette. So going in with the transition shade first. Obviously, I think most of you know I like and enjoy Natasha Denona's eyeshadow formula, and it might be a controversial opinion, but I don't always think it's worth it. I'm just going to take a little bit of this brown shade from my outer corner. I don't think it's worth the amount of money that she charges for her palettes, and that's speaking as someone who has two of the palettes that are large that cost $129. Especially in this economy, I don't really think that $129 for an eyeshadow palette, and this goes for Pat McGrath too. I just don't think you're going to be getting something that is so special that it warrants that price point. Probably why these brands have started running more frequent sales, because they figured out that most people don't want to pay that for an eyeshadow palette. I'm going to put a little bit of glitter glue down, which is not from Sephora, it's from NYX, but also kind of proves my point. Like, I still use a glitter glue with Natasha Denona because sometimes I feel like the shimmers don't always go onto my lid incredibly well, or if they go onto my lid well, they don't last super well. So I still pair a glitter glue even with my Natasha Denona shimmers most of the time. I'm gonna go in with this bronzy shimmer here, which is, I will say, very beautiful and very special. I do think this is a unique shade in my collection because it's bronzy, but it's got almost like a blue-green sparkle to it, and it's really, really pretty. But I'm not going to pay $129 for it. You know what I mean? And then I will come back and finish the eyes once we have a base on. If you are looking for a really good eyeliner to pick up during the Sephora sale, I actually just finished mine, so I don't have it to show you, but I would recommend the Hourglass Waterproof Voyeur eyeliners. It is a very kind of creamy, easy application process, but it's very long wearing. And once it's set, it is locked down, and that eyeliner is not going anywhere. So I actually do think that those are worth it because they are just really, really long wearing. I do have one alternative, which I think is a touch more affordable, from Persona, which I can talk about in another video. So if you are an Ulta person, you can pick up the Persona eyeliners, and those are just as good. But if you are looking for a really good, like, solid, very impressive eyeliner formula from Sephora, the Hourglass one would be my recommendation. So in terms of primers, I've already talked about the Merit Great Skin if you're looking for something hydrating. If you're looking for something blurring, I have to recommend this. It is the Cali Ray So Blown Clean Blurring Primer. It says it's non-comedogenic, and it also contains niacinamide and collagen peptides to hydrate and kind of plump your skin. But this is the most blurring primer I think I have ever used. I wore this on my wedding day, which, by the way, a lot of the things I'm going to be mentioning I wore on my wedding day, and I made a video about my wedding day makeup, which I can link in the description box down below. But I mean, this does such a good job. I should have done one side of my face and then shown you how it compared to the other side. I'm kind of mad that I didn't think about that, but hopefully you can see the difference between before and when I have this primer on my skin. I mainly just focus it through my T-zone, and you can just kind of press it into your pores even, and it does such a good job of blurring everything out and really mattifying the area. And even though I have dry skin, I'm still conscious of my pores and my T-zone, so I do like to have a blurring primer, and this is the most blurring one I've ever tried. And I've tried all the big names. I've tried the Smashbox, I've tried ones from the drugstore. this is the best one and definitely worth picking up at Sephora. I also like Cali Ray because their products are pretty moderately priced for Sephora. So with the discount, you actually are getting a really good price on this. Although I'm sure Cali Ray does run discounts on their site as well. So if there are multiple Cali Ray products that you wanted to pick up or you get like a free shipping code or something, it might be worth checking out their website as well. Now let's talk about foundation. The first might not be a surprise. Again, if you've seen my wedding makeup video, it's an oldie, but it's a goodie and it's a classic for a reason. And that is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place makeup. I wore this on my wedding day. I have it in my Pro MUA kit. I love this foundation, and I know a lot of people feel a little bit scared of this foundation because it can be heavy on the skin if you apply too much. But if you apply a light amount of this, it looks like skin. Like, I promise you, I might use this one today just to try and prove my point to you. But a light layer of this over the skin, it still looks like skin, but it's blurred, it's perfected, and it lasts so well. So if you have an event coming up, or you're the kind of person who works a really long day and you like a medium buildable to full coverage that's gonna last really well on your skin, 100% recommend picking this up. It's a pretty expensive foundation, but a little bit goes such a long way that it's definitely worth it to pick it up when you can get a discount on it. And then I do just have one more recommendation. This is going to be for those of you who are, again, leaning more dry. This is the KVD Good Apple Skin Perfecting Foundation Balm. And I know that there is a potential drugstore dupe for this. I believe from the L'Oreal Age Perfect line, they have a foundation balm. I have not tried that, but my gut feeling about that is that it does not have the coverage of this one. This is such a unique and innovative product to me. It is buildable coverage. Like, you can get the fullest of full coverage with this. Like, I've seen this cover people's tattoos. It really can be full if you want it to be. Or you can just get a light layer of it all over the face. When I first hear the term foundation balm, I'm imagining something sticky that's gonna slip around my face. It's not gonna set down. It's gonna transfer everywhere. This isn't like that at all. It somehow is very hydrating while still blurring, mattifying in the right places, keeping the right places dewy and looking plumped and hydrated. It's just honestly a very special product, especially if you have dry skin. I think I have a reel where I demo this, so I'll try to insert that if I can, just so you can see it applied. But for today, I'm gonna wear the Estee Lauder Double Wear so that I can demo it for you. I like to just I have the shade 1C1 Cool Bone. I wish I had the pump that you can get for this. Kind of annoying that it doesn't come with a pump already. They do sell one that you can purchase separately, but I typically just kind of do that, get a little bit on my finger and then apply it directly to my face. Start with a small amount and you can always build up. I'm going to be blending mine with a damp beauty sponge today, which, by the way, I used to buy the beauty blenders at Sephora. Definitely don't do that anymore. There are so many good, way more affordable sponge options these days. I just get these in a pack from Amazon. I can link them below if I remember. If I forget, somebody remind me in a comment. But if you want a lighter, more skin-like coverage with Double Wear, I recommend using a damp sponge. If you want more coverage, you can definitely use a brush. But hopefully you can see, like, you can still see I have areas I want to conceal. There's some areas that look dewy where I still want to look dewy. I've got basically just a really nice evened out canvas, but my skin texture still looks like skin. It's like a seamless layer over my skin, but it's gonna last me really well through the day as well. Let's talk about concealer because I have two very specific concealer recommendations, both for people who have very specific under eye needs. I have been trying the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer that everyone and their mother seems to love. And I'm just kind of, I don't think it's bad. I really wanted to love the way that it looks under my eyes, and I will apply it today. And I just don't know that I do. It can look a little bit heavy if I apply too much. I've been trying blending it out with a sponge lately. I usually just blend my under eye concealer with my fingers, and I do like the way it blends out better with a sponge, but this is a really expensive concealer, and I expected to be kind of blown away the way that people were talking about it. So I'm not recommending the Natasha Denona, which a lot of people are recommending it. And if it works for you, then that's great. But I don't know. I don't know that it is so revolutionary that it's far and away better than any of my other concealers or any other drugstore options. Like, you can still see my dark circles, which is fine, but not for an almost $40 concealer. You know what I mean? The two concealer recommendations that I do 100% stand by for the people who need them are the Kosas concealer and the Glossier Stretch. If you have problems with dry under eyes, if concealer always looks really crepey and dry on your under eyes, first of all, same. But those are the two concealers that I have found really perform well when my under eyes are especially dry and especially kind of flaky. The Kosas, I think, works really well for a lot of people who like a more hydrating under eye concealer. I do recommend setting it with a little bit of powder just for longevity because it doesn't last the best. But if your under eyes are like normal to dry, I really recommend the Kosas one. It's been my holy grail for years at this point, and I have repurchased it, and I probably will again. The Glossier, I would only recommend for two types of people. One is if you are insistent on having your no makeup genuinely be undetectable on the skin. Like, of all the concealers I've ever tried, the Glossier Stretch is genuinely undetectable. I don't have one with me now because the one that I had expired, because I do feel like you get a pretty good amount of product. But whenever I was going for like a no makeup day, I would use that under my eyes. I would use it around other places on my face that I wanted to conceal, and it was so perfect. So if you're that kind of person, you are just not interested in having makeup that looks like makeup, that is a great concealer. Alternatively, if you have severely dry under eyes, like the Kosas, I think a lot of people would really enjoy. The Glossier Stretch is not going to be one that a lot of people enjoy because it is so emollient and it can crease really badly. If you have severely dry under eyes, like for me in the winter, a lot of times I get eczema on my under eyes or around the outer corners of my eyes. And there have been days where that is the only under eye concealer that I can wear that doesn't look like a complete and total mess. So if you are a no makeup person, or you have really dry under eyes or eczema around your eyes, I would recommend the Glossier Stretch Concealer for you. Otherwise, I don't really have a concealer recommendation for Sephora that is like a tried and true product that I can 100% recommend to you confidently. I don't know, I just don't really see that much of a difference between most concealers from the drugstore versus from Sephora. But I know for sure I have not been able to find those more hydrating types of concealers at the drugstore, which is why I am recommending the Kosas and the Glossier if you need that. And jury's still out on the Natasha Denona. I can't recommend it to you today, but I'm gonna keep trying it and we'll see if my thoughts change. I'm gonna try to put a little bit more on to try and cover the dark circles, but this is where I always get in trouble with this concealer, is applying more and then it looks heavy, but I feel like I need more for the coverage. Let's move on to a cream bronzer. So there are so many cream bronzer formulas out there now. I really love the Catrice cream bronzer, which is very affordable, and I would recommend that one to you for sure. But I do have to say that the bronzer I'm going to talk about today, I think is innovative in a way that I haven't seen in all of these other bronzer offerings. And that is the LYS No Limits bronzer stick. I have the shade Motivate, and I think this is really unique because it goes on creamy, it doesn't cling to dry patches, and it doesn't get patchy, but it also packs pigment and it blends really easily. I'm going to demonstrate for you. So you just kind of draw some on, grab any old brush, and just sort of tap, tap, tap. And you're pretty much blended. Like, look how easy that is. Look how pretty that looks on the skin. It's really seamless, and I think it's great. It has everything I like about a cream bronzer in that it goes on creamy, it blends seamlessly, it makes my skin look nice and hydrated, but it also has all of the benefits of a stick too, in that it is really pigmented and it's long lasting. So I feel like they really did something with this bronzer, and it is definitely unique in my collection, and from the ones that I've tried at higher price points, at lower price points, I would definitely recommend this one. For powders, I don't have one in my collection anymore because I finished up a long time ago, but I have to recommend the Pat McGrath Under Eye Blurring Powder. There is an e.l.f. dupe of that powder. Let me know if you'd like to see a drugstore favorites video, because I feel like I keep referencing drugstore products that are just as good. But the Pat McGrath one is really, really good if you are looking for something super ultra blurring that doesn't make your skin look dry, especially underneath the eyes. That one is amazing if you want to buy one from Sephora. Otherwise, I would say get the e.l.f. one. Only thing with the e.l.f. one is that you have to order it from the e.l.f. website, because for some reason they're no longer stocking it, at least in any of my like drugstores or Targets or Walmarts. If you're looking for a loose setting powder, in my opinion, nothing beats the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder. I've tried a couple from the drugstore that just don't perform quite the same. They just sit a little bit heavier on the skin. I'm not sure if they contain like talc or something, but the Laura Mercier one is just so light and feathery in a way that the ones that I've tried from the drugstore are not. So you just kind of tip out a little bit. You don't need a lot of this either, especially if you are wearing a kind of self-setting foundation like the Estee Lauder, or if you have more dry skin, you can get away with a very small amount. I usually just take a big fluffy brush, swirl it into my brush, and then just kind of gently press over my face to set everything. Hopefully you can see that didn't add any like coverage to my skin. My skin doesn't look heavy. It just sets everything down and keeps it wearing really well all day. For a pressed powder, I hate to say it because it is so expensive, but I do love and stand behind the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish. I get the shade 1 Pale, and I actually have 2. I have Pan in this one, and the other one looks like this. So you can tell I use this powder all the time. I love it. I have one in my makeup bag and one that I keep on the go with me in case I feel like I'm looking a little oily. I like putting this on with a brush, but it also works really, really well with a powder puff. I will also try to link the Amazon powder puffs that I get. So I just get a little bit of powder on my powder puff and then go right through that area, and I think you might be able to see the difference. It just blurs so beautifully in a way that is very similar to the Pat McGrath Under Eye Blurring Setting Powder and the e.l.f. dupe for that powder that I mentioned. So again, you could use either of those for the same purpose. I'm going to take the tiniest little baby amount on the end of my powder puff just for right here under my eyes. I'm trying to not set the Natasha Denona concealer where I can, because again, it can look a little heavy and dry, but maybe just a tiny bit to take the shine down. Do you absolutely need this setting powder in your life? No. If you're looking for a good one from Sephora, I do love and use this all the time, and it would be great to get it on a discount because it is a little bit more spendy. Same goes for the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer. I have mine in the shade 2 Medium. And again, I have Pan in mind, so you can see that I really do love it and use it all the time. I do think, however, there is a really close drugstore dupe for this product that I'm going to have to include if I end up doing the drugstore video. It's close enough to where I don't feel like I would have to purchase the Charlotte Tilbury one again. So whereas I once thought that this product was very special in that it was blurring and just sat very seamless on the skin, I'm now not so sure, because I do feel like there is an alternative that's much, much cheaper from e.l.f. that does a very similar thing. But again, if you're looking for a good powder bronzer from Sephora, I love this one from Charlotte Tilbury, and it will last you forever and ever and ever. So it is probably a good value for money if you can get it on a discount. For blush, this might shock you, but I don't have a recommendation from Sephora. There are so many blushes that are trendy from Sephora, like the Rare Beauty ones, the Say dewy ones. It feels like there's always a new blush formula coming out, the majority of which are liquid, which, to be fair, is not really my preference when it comes to blush. I feel like a lot of times they're patchy, they pick up what's underneath them. They're kind of a hassle to apply in my opinion. But the ones I've tried, I just haven't been that blown away by. If you forced me to choose one, again, like we did with the eyeshadow palettes, if you were like, no, please, I am, you know, re-upping my entire makeup routine and I have to have a blush from Sephora, I would choose the Pat McGrath blushes. Mine are in palettes, but they do come in singles. And I will apply one of these today. Let's see which one. I will apply this one today, which is called Divine Rose. They're really nice blushes. They're not so innovative and so different from other blushes I've tried that I'm like, no, you absolutely have to buy the Pat McGrath one. And again, as I've mentioned, Pat McGrath does discounts on her own website. So take this recommendation with a grain of salt, but I do think they're beautiful and they have a very seamless formula on the skin. And I did wear them on my wedding day. So that's blush. But again, because blushes are kind of having a moment and they're very trendy, I feel like a lot of the drugstore brands have really stepped up their game when it comes to formulating blushes, both powder and liquid. So I think you can do most of your blush shopping at the drugstore these days and be just as happy. Okay, I just filled in my brows off camera because in my opinion, there is not a brow pencil or marker or pomade or powder that you need to get from Sephora. They're just not any better than the ones you can get at the drugstore. I promise you. Like NYX has excellent brow products. There's a CoverGirl micro brow pencil. There's e.l.f. has really great brow products. If you can find a good shade at the drugstore, you are set in terms of filling your brows in. For brow gel though, and setting your brows down, that is another story. And I'm pretty particular about the brow gels that I use, but I have two that I can recommend from Sephora. One is the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter because that is glue for your brows. It will set your brows like none other. So 100% recommend that one. I've loved and repurchased that one for years. But I recently discovered the Rare Beauty Flexible Lifting Gel. And this one's a little bit different. It's not as much of an intense hold right off the bat. So I actually backcomb my brows with it first before combing my brows up. But I really, really like this one. It's not crunchy, which the Benefit Brow Setter can be a little bit crunchy. I don't mind when my brows are crunchy because I like them to be held in place and I like them to be lifted. If you really don't like that crunchy feeling, I would definitely recommend the Rare Beauty. You can see it does such a good job of just lifting my brows and they look practically laminated without being overly shiny. It's almost like a soft matte finish, so it just looks really natural in your brows. 100% would recommend the Rare Beauty Brow Gel. Okay, my loves, my camera died, so while I was charging my battery, I did my hair, I finished up my eye look, and put on mascara just to save time. For my eyes, I just kind of went along the lower lash line with this deepest shade in the Mini Nude palette, and then I took the lightest kind of shimmery shade for my inner corners. And then for mascara, I used my new favorite mascara, I think of all time, which is the Wet n Wild So Defined Volumizing and Defining Mascara. I previously would have recommended to you the Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water Mascara from Sephora. It is a very nice tubing mascara that still gives lots of volume and thickness to the lashes. So if you're looking for one that you can pick up at Sephora or you have a hard time finding the Wet n Wild one, I do really like the Cali Ray mascara, but ever since discovering this $5 Wet n Wild mascara that is not a tubing mascara but basically behaves like a tubing mascara, it does not smudge or flake on me. Though it doesn't come off in tubes, it's still pretty easy to remove. this hands down would be my top mascara recommendation for you. I actually have two setting spray recommendations. So if you are looking for really just longevity in your makeup, you want a setting spray that's going to lock your makeup in and help it last longer through the day, I would recommend the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. That one I discovered during the pandemic when we were all wearing masks, and that was the only setting spray that would keep my makeup on my face and not on my mask. So I can recommend that one for making your makeup transfer proof and helping it to last for a really, really long time throughout the day. And that's also the one that I used on my wedding day. But I finished it, so I don't have that one to show you. But if you're looking for longevity in your makeup, you want to set your makeup, kind of meld all your powders together, but also get a tiny bit of hydration, because I will say the Charlotte Tilbury one can be a bit drying if my skin is really going through a dry season. Then I would recommend to you the Cali Ray Surf Proof Setting Spray. This is so good at melding your makeup together, but adding just a tiny little bit of hydration. It's not gonna be anything oily or greasy. It's not gonna make you look shiny. It doesn't have that same kind of drying out potential that the Charlotte Tilbury one does. And I really love the mist on this. I'll try to apply some now just so you can see. I hope the camera can catch what the mist looks like, but get my little handheld fan just to dry that down. It's just a super light, very, very fine mist, and it smells like coconut, which is lovely. And it just melds everything together, brings a little bit of life back to my skin, and also helps my makeup stay on longer throughout the day. So this is a great one to pick up at Sephora. Finally, let's get into lips. Listen, there are so many great lip liner, lipstick, lip balmy type things, lip oils, lip glosses. All of your bases can pretty much be covered at the drugstore these days. Brands have gotten really, really good at launching super high quality lip products. But the one thing I would say is a little bit more challenging to find at the drugstore, not impossible, but challenging, is cooler toned lip products. So my picks from Sephora, the formulas are great, but it's specifically for shades that are a little bit more difficult to find at the drugstore. For that reason, I am a huge fan of Charlotte Tilbury lip products. I feel like she has some really nice undertones that work really well if you, like me, like a cooler toned lip. Don't get me wrong, a lot of her lipsticks pull warmer. In particular, the original Pillow Talk lipstick, that looks almost like a coral on me. But she has released some really nice mauvey, cooler, pinky nude tones in a few different formulas, so I wanted to highlight those for you today. The lip liner that I love and I'm obsessed with is the Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in the shade Iconic Nude. There are tons of really great lip liners at the drugstore. The new e.l.f. ones are pretty good. They don't last as long as this, but the NYX, like the wooden sharpenable lip liners from NYX, are really good and they have pretty good wear. The Charlotte Tilbury lip liners last forever on my lips, like they really do not disappear. And Iconic Nude is just a perfect cooler toned everyday nude shade for me. You can see that color gives almost like a subtle lip contour effect. The other Charlotte Tilbury lip formulas are all good, so I'm not really going to be touching too much on the formula, but the shades. So if you're looking for a cooler toned option, maybe you're fair with cool undertones like I am, these I think you would really enjoy. So we have one of her lipsticks in the shade Pillow Talk Fair. This is a newer release. As I mentioned, the original Pillow Talk was very corally on me, and this one is a lot cooler of a nudie pink. And we have the Superstar Lips range, which is like in between a lipstick and a tinted lip balm. The shade Pillow Talk in this particular formula is very cool toned. It's not the same as the original Pillow Talk lipstick, and it has a little bit of a shine to it. So you can see Pillow Talk Fair here. This one is Pillow Talk in the Superstar Lips. It's a little bit shinier. And then if you're looking for something hydrating that still has that cooler tone to it, I recommend the Hyaluronic Happy Kiss in the shade Pillow Talk. Again, Even though they all have Pillow Talk in the name, they're all slightly different shades. So again, this is the regular lipstick, this is the Superstar Lips, and this is the Hyaluronic Happy Kiss, and you can see it's just the shiniest and most hydrating of the three. So I need a little bit of hydration in my lips today, so I'm going to apply the Hyaluronic Happy Kiss, and it's just the most beautiful, juicy looking formula on the lips while giving you a nice boost of hydration. It's pretty occlusive, so it's going to lock that moisture in. But most importantly, the shade is, I think, very flattering on me, though I lean cooler in my undertones. So if anybody ever asks me for cool toned lip product recommendations, Charlotte Tilbury tends to be my go-to just because I know that she does have some cooler options in her line. But I'm always on the lookout for drugstore alternatives. I just find, for whatever reason, a lot of drugstore lip products pull really warm and orangey on me, so it can be a little bit more challenging overall. And this is the finished look. Those are all of my tippy top tried and tested faves from Sephora that I think are actually worth it. As I said, I've got lots of drugstore alternatives and just more affordable options that are really similar to some of these products that I'd be happy to make a video about as well if you're interested in that. Please do let us know down in the comments below if you have any products that are like your go-tos, 100% confident in recommending them to somebody because you've used them and you know them and you think they really are special and warrant the Sephora price tag. Leave those products in the comments down below because I think we would all be really interested to hear them. And I hope this was helpful if you are shopping the Sephora sale and you wanted a very stripped back, not trendy kind of list of products. You just want the products that are going to work and that are worth the price point. Of course, shop responsibly. You don't have to shop the Sephora sale, and I'm definitely not shopping the Sephora sale this year. In fact, it can be a really nice opportunity to revisit your collection and pull out some old faves, which is kind of what I've done in this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please give it a like if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. I would really like to see you in my next video, so I will hope to see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye!